Hey everyone, and welcome to the Spiritist Society of Melbourne. My name is Thiago Comitri, and I'm a volunteer with this group. Tonight, I'm going to share my understanding to the topic A Mere Sense under the lens of Spiritism. I'm still a student of this philosophy, and what I'll be exposing here tonight might differ from other members of this group, as well as other students of this philosophy, since it's aligned with my current knowledge of the subject. Let's start with the definition of sense. What sense? A faculty by which the body perceives an external stimulus, one of the faculties of sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch. Also, a feeling that something is the case. I got these definitions from the Oxford Language from the internet. But we'll take the first definition for a better understanding of the presentation. Do you have all the five senses? Sight, smell, hearing, tasting, touch? If not, this philosophy says that there is a reason for everything in our lives, inclusive why you were born without the perception of one or more of those senses. But I'm not going down that way to explain this tonight. Can you see or hear things that you think only you do? Perceive some figures or voices in your mind? If so, I would say don't worry about that. It might be a mere sense called mediumship. My presentation tonight will be based on this book, Changing Attitudes, written by Francisco de Espírito Santo and dictated by the spirit named Hamed. As the title says, by changing our attitudes, it proposes us to perceive life in a different perspective. And based on the Spirit's book as well, which contains the principles of Spiritism, according to the teachings of spirits of high degree, transmitted through many mediums around the world, then received, coordinated, and codified by Allan Kardec. Also, the Gospel according to Spiritism, which contains the explanation of the moral maxims of Christ in concordance with Spiritism and their applications to the different circumstances of life. So, according to Hamed, mediumship is a mental perception through which the soul subtilizes, stimulates, and whets its sense in order to penetrate the sense of things and people. It's one of the tools we have to feel life, a sensitiveness power to better see and listen to the divine creation excellence. So, it's a tool that we all have to feel life. It's a faculty like all our other senses. And as we develop our sense for a better sight, better hearing, and so on, we indirectly develop our sixth sense as well. Also known as intuition or inspiration. Mediumship is the sense which allows us to interact with the spiritual world via clairvoyance or channeling or any other way. This image shows us about this communication. So we can see some people around the table, and some spirits standing behind the medium. So the medium is concentrated, focused on the message he is receiving through thoughts, and he's writing it down. The people around the table is helping him, supporting with papers and pencils, and also like that man on the left, he is concentrating and vibrating good energies and sending his intention of love and peace, hope to this moment to help the medium to have a very strong um, communication with those spirits to receive that message as it should be. That's my reading of this picture. So it's very important for us to develop ourselves in the intellectual and moral areas, because that will outcome in the way we perceive life and open ways for us to perceive what's around us, allowing us to listen to the spiritual sonorities that exist in the ethereal bands of the many invisible dimensions of the universe. We are surrounded by spirits everywhere, all the time. They are all the time watching us, listening to our thoughts, seeing what we are doing, what we are thinking. We cannot conceal anything from them, but they they only see and hear what is important for them, what they want to do so. But with this knowledge, with this intellectual and moral knowledge elevated, we can be more open for this kind of communication, and even to differentiate, to distinguish what kind of communication we are receiving, or what kind of spirit is around us in a specific moment. Spiritism, this spiritist philosophy says that we are individuals with the main objective of progressing spiritually towards perfection, and at the same time being co-creators. Let's explore a little bit this text here. It's talking about individuality. We are individuals. We were created as a spirit. We are a spirit, or our soul, which is the same as a spirit. We were created simple and ignorant, with the main objective to progress and reach perfection one day. But how would we able to reach perfection with a single life? For example, since I was born, how can I reach perfection until I pass away? It sounds impossible to me. So for this reason, reincarnation helps me to open my mind to see a big picture, and then I can understand that there is something beyond, must have something beyond in my point of view. So we were created simple and ignorant, and we are evolving. We are on a journey of evolution to reach perfection through many existences. So reincarnation wasn't created by this philosophy, but for me it's well explained, and I can understand this much better with this explanation. And there is logic for me. I can see logic on this. So at the same time being co-creators, how we can be co-creator? I'm not alone in this journey of evolution. We are near 8 billion people on Earth, so we are all on the same boat. We are all evolving, wanting to reach perfection one day. Everyone. If I help you to evolve, you will help me somehow as well, indirectly maybe, to evolve as well. Doing this presentation is a way for me to be better, to study, to understand more, and to improve my intellectual and moral knowledge, and in sharing what I've learned with everyone who is watching this video is a way to contribute with this process. Keep in mind that we are individuals, spirits, going through this universe which has many dimensions, and we are evolving to reach perfection one day. There is a plan for us there, and we have no idea about that. But we are at the moment incarnated, inhabiting this body, this matter. And also there are spirits around us, disembodied. They are not in the physical world, but they are around us in different dimensions. And that's why we cannot see them, but we can interact with them. We can establish a communication through that sixth sense, which is mediumship. So if you listen or if you see things that only you do, don't worry about that. It can be developed. It can be just a mere sense. If the ability to communicate with spirits were granted only to the most worthy, who would dare to claim this quality? Moreover, where is the line between being worthy and being unworthy? Leadership is given without distinction, so that spirits may bring the light to all ranks, all classes of society, to the rich as well as to the poor, to the wise to strengthen them in the good, and to the corrupt in order to correct them. I got this content, this text here from the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 24, item 12. It's saying that this sense is part of everyone, every human being, but it can be manifested to you and not for me, or vice versa. It can be manifested to myself and not to my wife, for example. I can have communication with spirits, but what's the advantage of that? There is no advantage. Actually, I usually say that it's a tool, as Hamed said early, it's a tool for us to improve ourselves. If I have the ability to communicate with spirits, and they are watching me, they are surrounding me and they're watching me, and good spirits that wants to see my progress, wants to see myself to evolve, to reach perfection, right? So they will help me to achieve that as soon as I can. It takes many existences, millions maybe, but doesn't matter. For this existence, I will do my best. And those good spirits that can communicate with me, they'll help me to do so. They'll show me the way in a in a sense for me to understand what I haven't been understanding that for the past lives. So it's a tool for me to definitely understand what I couldn't in past lives, and also to help other people. And as these texts say here, mediumship is given without distinction, so that spirits may bring the light to all ranks, all classes of society, to the rich as well to the poor. So everyone have the faculty to communicate, interact with spirits, regardless the class of society, regardless of the wealth of that person, if it's rich or poor or whatever. It's for the spirit. It doesn't have any of those characteristics. The spirit is the same here and everywhere. Everyone is the same in the spirit's form. What differentiates the spirits are the knowledge they have, the experience they have, background they have based on their existence, their lives. If you see to the history, in the past, mediumistic meetings were categorized as devil's actions, mostly by the church. So, have you seen pictures like that? When people was starting to have these manifestations and start to communicate, establishing these interaction with spirits, start to communicate with them. And they received a lot of teachings. And as I said before, the spirits book was like messages received like in meetings like this in these pictures, and then compiled, codified by Allan Kardec in a very structured way. So I do recommend you to study that book. It's not like a reading book. It's questions and answers, but questions made by a very well educated person like Allan Kardec, and answers given by the spirits, the high order spirits. I'm not a high order spirit at all. If I compare myself, for example, with some personalities in our history, like Mother Teresa, Gandhi, or Jesus Christ, and Buddha, or other figures, I cannot compare myself to them. I'm very far away from them. But imagine this kind of spirits giving us answers for our mundane questions. It's a blessing. It's very powerful for us to evolve. If we understand and apply all those teachings in our lives, we probably will grow very quick. But it's very hard to do so as well. But in the past, mediumistic meetings was not seen with good eyes. And nowadays, it's seen as a natural and spontaneous phenomenon associated to individuals' organic characteristics. So if you do some search on the internet, you find many offerings of mediumship training, books, workshops, because people usually look for mediums with the hope of receiving messages that would alleviate the pain of the passage of a loved one, or to be encouraged to forgive, or to have the required strength to go through a very difficult moment. There are many reasons why people look for spiritual help. But the case is that nowadays it's much more accessible. It's still unknown for the majority though. People don't understand or don't want to understand or is scared about, oh, you talk to spirits? You communicate with spirits? Or why should I receive a message? Why should I look for a message from the spirits or from the spiritual world? That helps a lot of people. And sometimes Imagine you have a problem in your life, or you have a disease, or you are going through a very delicate moment. And when you receive a message, a letter from a good spirit that wants to see your progress, that wants you to raise your head and move on and continue with your life, you know, that alleviates your heart, the pain in your heart. That helps you to open your mind, to open your eyes for your own life, maybe to see yourself from a different perspective, to understand how you are conducting or you are living. It helps a lot. Many people. That's why we see now a lot of mediums around the world and doing workshops and doing consultations, things like that. In Spiritism, we have this for free, and that's an act of charity that we have to help you others, to help everyone, of course, with the support of the spirits. Hamed continues, unless we have impaired visual organs, all of us can see. The ways we see, though, are peculiar to everyone. Hearing is a common phenomenon. Nevertheless, the capacity to hear beyond things and spoken words is a lucidity factor for the ones who have already developed the act of listening to a spirit's death. So anyone can see and hear the spiritual world. However, it requires much more than just have the faculty to do so. We should grow and develop using the common faculties which were given to everyone. We have our five senses, and we have the sixth sense, which is this mediumship, that sometimes manifests itself in some people. And many people don't know about that. They start listening, voices in their mind, suggestions like ideas that is not coming from that person, and they recognize that it's not coming from me. Why I'm thinking of that? Or they see some figures and they don't know what's going on with them. That might be just a mere sense. That might be this tool that is given to us. Everyone have, but the key is how to handle that, how to live with that. We learn. So we can find mediumship in the most different evolutionary stages, social and intellectual classes, nationalities, and beliefs. And in spite of its different names, it has always been present among human beings since the most remote ages. As it's a faculty of the human being, it has always been present since the first one. So imagine when we was in the cave. That's a proof of evolution. That's a proof of reincarnation, let's say. The science has proved about the history. We see the fossils and other discoveries about the dinosaurs and about other animals and about other stuff. So we have this science proves that, and we came from the cave. I mean the human being came from the cave. And nowadays, if you see pictures, photos of 50 years ago of your city, and you see how your city is now 50 years after, 100 years after, it's quite different, isn't it? Everything evolves. Everything evolves. So humanity evolves as well. We are coming through different lives, different existence, and we are evolving with everything. So new technologies, how could someone just create or invent something new that no one knows about that? in my point of view, is an inspiration from other spirits, or maybe a spirit with a good knowledge that came in that life and decide to give that, to leave that as a legacy for the humanity. It's quite interesting. So since everything happens in their own time, if required, mediumship will manifest spontaneous to you and to everyone. We don't need to force it to happen. We should, though, be aware of this sense and be prepared if it manifests by improving it and caring for it. As I've shown you some pictures and the slides before, some workshops and training for you to develop your mediumship. Okay, it's a sense that everyone has, but if your spirit need, it will spontaneously manifest by itself. You know what I mean? So we're some trainings to accelerate out natural gift are an incoherent procedure. Why would you do that if we don't need that? Our spirit don't need that, you know? As a children, knowing how to wait for our organs to develop is what allows us to see, to speak, to walk, hear, feel, taste, and choose things in life in an appropriate way, right? We all go through all that slow process. Why would then mediumship, which is another sense, need so many implications and orders to develop if it's considered an ontogenetically human skill? For example, with myself, I'm a medium, and I had the manifestation of my mediumship a few years ago, about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and I'm a student of this philosophy for around 15, 16 years now, maybe a bit more, but I never had this manifestation, and I had never looked forward to develop that, to have that. Just studying those main books, spirits books, medium book, and other books. And during a meeting in a spiritist center back in Brazil, when I was living there, it just I was passing. I was like start to feel unwell, and I have said my wife just helped me, and she told me that I just start talking and speaking, and the other mediums that was there and still other spirits helping the session, they just helped me and told me after that my mediumship was manifesting by itself spontaneously. So I had that sensation a few times before, in the year before, for a few times, and was very 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 strange for me. And that day I discovered that those feelings I was having before was a signal for this manifestation, that something would happen. And that was pretty nice. That was pretty good for me. And I start to develop in such a way to understand how to handle that situation, because when it manifests and we open this channel to communicate with those spirits, we start being more sensible and have more sensibility to perceive things. And sometimes I still feel the approach of spirits and studying and having the knowledge to go through this moment. It helps us a lot to distinguish if that is a good communication. It comes from a friend, for a good spirit or not. And it's always for my own development, for sure. So that's what I would say. It comes spontaneously, naturally, and no one needs to concern about that. It's part of our life. It's a tool. It's just a mere sense for us. Hamed finishes this topic in his book saying, humanity's increasing sensitiveness is a fact. It occurs in an implicit way nowadays, for I will pour out my spirit on our people, making spiritual effects more and more common, undeniable, and generalized. So don't be afraid and look for help if you need. You can contact the Spiritist Society of Melbourne to help you to understand what's going on with you. And that's what I would like to share with you tonight. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Thank you.